What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. This is our reaction show where we're going to break down everything that we saw as the Hounds unfortunately lost to Tampa, who at the time were the last place team in the East. We're not going to get too negative right off the bat. I am Mike Sparks. Joining me is Steve Matty Ace, Josh Brokaw, and Justin Ashcraft. Gentlemen, two of you saw a lot of each other this weekend. Justin, how's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. We had a great weekend. Josh and Liz came out for a good portion of the weekend, and so spent some time with us. I'll let him tell what they were doing this weekend, but we had a great day, great morning on Saturday morning, and then we had a very relaxing day. So this week was good. Yeah, it was, full circle conversations. Rana Jean started kindergarten this week and did great. So it was awesome to have a kid in kindergarten.
It's awesome. Josh, what were you doing out in, do you pronounce it Lebanon or Lebanon?
You just kind of like Lebanon.
Lebanon. Okay.
You're even with the second one, Mike, you're still enunciating way too much.
Eat the whole
it's like one syllable.
Lebanon.
Yeah, so the PA Ren Fair just got kicked off, and we have a couple friends that like to go to it every year. We had never gone to it. We always go to the Pittsburgh Ren Fair. We've been to a couple other ones, but the PA one is a lot bigger than the Pittsburgh Ren Fair, and it has been kind of something I wanted to try. So we decided to do the 4.5 hour drive to get down there and check it out. And yeah, lucky to have some friends that live close by. So we hung out with the Ashcrafts for 2 days. They let us crash at their place. And all day Saturday, we were pretty much at the Ren Fair.
That's awesome. Did you get any good food while you were there?
Food wise, no, I think we just did fish and chips, but we spent way too much, as we always do at a Ren Fair. You go in thinking like, there's not much I really need. I go to these all the time. And then next thing you know, you come out with a whole new outfits and like, lots of little tchotchkes type stuff. And yeah, so I have a new kind of like doublet, like vest for my outfit, and Liz got a whole new dress and everything. So it was a lot of fun though. It is nice. It's a lot bigger, and I like the way they have it laid out. It feels like a maze. Like I didn't know if I had seen everything because it's so like different, like a spot, like it goes out different directions and all. So it was really cool. I like
awesome. Awesome. Steve, anything going on this weekend?
Well, I did not watch the game live last night because I was doing something much better, which was a good friend's 40th birthday party. We were actually just up the street from Josh and Liz's at another friend's co-working space that he works out of. So it was like this super cool space, like all sorts of little like interesting like film and like tech stuff and whatnot. There's this old like early 1980s 8-track player that was like looked like a globe. It was fantastic, right? Yes. So it was just a cool space to be. It was wide open. I want to say there's probably 20 people there or so, and so great space for that. So yeah. That was kind of like the highlight of the weekend, watching Dave celebrate with Dave and watching him turn 40, and that's all giving him a hard time. So like all the younger guys be like, "Oh, you're getting so old," and all of us that are over 40 be like, "Welcome to the club." So when I saw him today at church, I asked him, I was like, "So how many aches did you wake up with today?"
It's real, man. It's real. I know you're joking, but you're not joking. It's real.
No, right now I have like a cramp right here, and I don't know why, but it hurts. And I'm like trying to stretch it while not being obvious. So if I look awkward, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah. Guys, let's do a hey, sir, and then let's talk about the game. I should have queued up hey, sir. Let's do a hey, sir, and then we'll talk about the game.
And now, hey, sir, 1-minute reactions with Laura Ellen.
I don't even know what to say. I don't really care because, hey! Okay, that was the best part of the game. Okay, bye!
This has been Hey Sir, 1-minute reactions with Laura Ellen.
So for those listening, Laura Ellen just panned the camera around and showed that Josh and Liz were sitting in your living room. Justin, you were reclining on the couch. Yeah.
It might be her best hey sir, but I'm disappointed because now I have nothing about the game to react to. She said.
Well, I mean, Okay.
That's actually a gift for this.
I was gonna say the Hounds, after going up 1-0 in the 3rd minute off of a Charles All goal, we ended up losing 2-1. The goal was so fast that I think it caught a lot of us by surprise. We're just gonna do Mondo's moment too, because he just sort of keys in on how fast it was as well.
It's time for Mondo's moment, the top moment of the game from the Mandalorian.
The Mondo moment for the match against Tampa Bay Rowdies comes in 119 seconds. Charles All taps in a cross from Robbie Mertz, making it the fastest goal of the season for the Riverhounds on the first goal of the match. This is the way.
This has been Mondo's moment. Go Hounds.
Nice.
So, yeah.
That was like almost Micro Machine commercials fast.
Here's a callback.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I did not speed that up. That was how Mondo sent it to me. Justin, give me a takeaway from the game.
I had a lot of hope for the first 20 minutes of the game that this was going to be a good one, and then it didn't. But I will say, listen, Charles All finding a little pocket of space in the box, and then finding the top corner, which was like the only part of the goal that wasn't covered from where he was standing, and kind of the camera was like at the right angle for that goal to see what was happening. And so, it pans and he gets the ball and you can see the top corner of the net wide open, and he just found that top corner. It was a great shot.
Yeah, agreed. Josh, takeaway.
First half was actually good, I thought. Like it didn't feel like I could not see what was happening or what was going to happen in that second half from that first half. It definitely did feel like we were on the front foot. We were doing what we were supposed to be doing. And everyone was clicking. Like Augie had a couple of chances even in the first half that, could have really changed the whole tenor of the game. But even though he missed he didn't get the goals, it was still great that he actually was able to get in the spots and be open, and they were able to get it to him. So it seemed pretty positive going into the second half.
Yeah. Steve?
9 shots, 2 of them in the second half. It's not good enough.
Yeah.
That's fair. Do you feel like you would feel that way if Augie would have put the one that he was wide open was one-on-one with the keeper?
I mean, do I feel better if this is a draw? A little bit. Do I feel like we played a game that we should have been playing if everything else stays the same? Not really. Like this is a game where, I mean, Justin, you had reiterated this, but I think I was trying to say this last week that not because we needed 3 points in this game, but because Tampa is last in the division, it's a must-win game in that sense. And we went in and looked okay and then looked bad and didn't look like a team that should be beating the last place team, even like for a full 90 minutes. And that's unacceptable to me.
Justin, you said you were hopeful, but you did confide in us that this was as close to a must win as you could muster. What are your reactions now as a result?
Yeah, I mean, I think the road to the playoffs becomes way more interesting at the moment. I think we've kind of had, you guys have had these conversations. Laurel and I have had these conversations. If you're at a spot in the season where, all right, cool, we're near the top, it's like we're almost as close to the top 4 or getting a home playoff game as we are to bowing out of the playoffs, and not even making the playoffs. And so it's like you have to continue to get points. And the more points you continue to drop, and we've dropped now 5 in the last 2 weeks that we should have had, and now we find ourselves with only 1 point after 2 weeks, after what we said against Charleston was one of the better performances of the season. And I'm fine losing that game. It's a great team you're playing against, and so it's okay to lose that game, but to come back and lay essentially 2 stinkers the next 2 weeks, you're making your road to the playoffs a lot harder than it has to be.
Josh, last week you said that you're pretty confident that we're going to make the playoffs, just not a home playoff game. Are you still as confident after that performance last night?
I mean, yeah, I am. One, I know like these last 2 games have sucked. Getting 0 points out of the Rowdies is really terrible. I mean, I thought drawing Birmingham was, very indicative of the season and kind of a stab to the heart. But yeah, getting 0 from Rowdie this year of all years. Yeah. But with that said, we're still we have a good gap between us and 7th place right now. So I still feel like we have room to have these mishaps and still be within the playoffs, because I don't see us dipping below Rhode Island. It can happen, but even if we do, we have to dip below Indy as well to actually get out of the playoffs. So
yeah. Last week, Steve, we talked a little bit about Eric Dick and having sort of the mental error against Birmingham and sort of having a few games in a row. I felt that especially the first goal wasn't really his fault. He made a really good save, and just there was nobody on the guy that was on him on a corner kick. And so the guy just kind of knocked it in. Do you think that Dick kind of redeemed himself a little bit, which is tough to say in a 2-1 loss, but what do you read?
Yeah, I mean, I think that Dick did the things he needed to do. Was it his best game? No. Was it better than the past few weeks? Absolutely. I think both those games or both those goals that Tampa scored are goals because defenders weren't doing their job. And you saw it, even though they didn't score on that second goal on the corner kick, the same thing happened on that one that happened on the first goal, where there was a man unmarked in the box right in front of him. And fortunately, the ball didn't get there, but then it bounces out and everybody's disheveled because they don't know where their man is. And it comes out up top, and that's how they get the second goal, and a good shot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, Eric, good defense, not what we're used to.
You guys have all kind of alluded to the fact that it felt like, at least in the first half, that we were playing pretty well. The second half kind of deteriorated. I clocked it. Even in stoppage time when we were chasing the game, Tampa spent the last 2 minutes playing keep away, and we could not get the ball back from them.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I don't know how much of that is tired legs. I don't know how much of that is mentality, but like in a game that is air quotes must win, it just doesn't feel like these guys have the bite to just make it happen. And that's concerning, right? I mean, Justin, am I reading that right?
Yeah, and I think the other piece that I would add into that is I think we've talked a lot this season about Bob's substitutions, when he makes them, who they are, all that kind of stuff. Last night, again, to me, felt reactionary. He never he doesn't make a proactive sub almost ever. And so it's like when we finally give up one goal, then he kind of makes a sub, but that again is like not until the 75th, 77th, 80th minute, somewhere around there. And then we only have 10, 12 minutes to get a goal or to get back in the game, all that kind of stuff. And I think it feels like, all right, why don't you make a sub at half? With these 5 substitution rules, I almost never understand why coaches don't use at least one sub at halftime, because it doesn't take a window away and you still get a pair of fresh legs on the field. And so, yeah, nobody was playing terrible in the first half. So you kind of go, well, why would you? But to me, if I'm thinking through how to use 5 subs strategically, I'm always making a halftime sub, almost always. And you come on, you try to you push to get a goal, all that kind of stuff. And then you can kind of spread your subs out throughout the rest of the half to continue to have pressure. And it feels like Bob almost does these subs reactionary, where it's like, all right, we just gave up a goal. Now I need to get some attacking, people on the field. And so I put 2 attackers on. And then a few minutes later, we still didn't get a goal. And now they scored. Now we need to get another goal. So we do a triple sub. And I don't know. It just doesn't work to me.
I really agree with what you're saying there, Justin, that even if it's not changing the tactics, the fresh legs are important, but I think you have the opportunity to change the tactics. But in this game, makes 2 subs in the 74th minute, and they're pretty much like for like subs. And then a minute later, we give up the second goal. And I would really love to see how many times we've had the conversation, much less how many times it's happened, that we talk about a sub happening and then the team giving up a goal.
I mean, to that point, let's look at the Rowdie subs. Who scored the goal? A sub. Assist, a sub. The people who the Rowdies brought in are the ones who changed that game up. And those are obviously not reactionary. Those ones are trying to shake up the game, and they did exactly that. So it is kind of, damning to think that all the subs that came in for the Hounds didn't change the game at all. Yet the subs that came in for Rowdies, that's why they won the game.
Yeah. And that this isn't an isolated conversation on the Rowdies game, that this is a conversation we've been able to have for a long time.
Yeah. Lots of concern. I'm really kind of concerned. Obviously, we go to play. I'm getting ahead of myself. If we go to play Oakland, and then it's kind of back and forth for the rest of the season. We have Louisville that we got to play again. Louisville, who've already clinched a playoff spot. So, this is not going to get any easier.
Well,
guys,
and of those 4 remaining games, we've got Oakland, LA, Monterey Bay taking up the last 3 spots in the West, and Miami, who's now, after last night, taking up the bottom spot in the East. And after last night, there's just not a lot of confidence for me that these are guaranteed point games for us, right? We should be getting 12 points in those 4 games, but will we?
Yeah.
I question it, at least.
Before we get into that broader conversation, did you guys have any other takeaways from this one, or you just want to put it behind you?
My probably big question is what happened to Jackson Walty?
Yeah.
And I just, I think I kind of made the joke on Slack last night. Bob not playing our best players in their best positions, whatever. But it just leaves a big question in my mind of all right, we play one of our best games of the season against Charleston, all that kind of stuff. In the next 2 weeks, Walty's sitting. I don't get it. I just don't understand that.
It almost feels like he's trying to figure out ways to get all on the field, and he's sacrificing Walty for that. And I don't agree with that. I think he's trying to get more attacking, which we have forwards you can play on instead. I'm not knocking all. He clearly scored in this one. But I think he's trying to figure out the right combinations. But I agree. If you were to ask us, to put together your starting 11, Walty would be one of my first 3 easily every time. It's just a no question starter for me. So why he's being sacrificed, I don't.
And I agree with you, Mike. I think I'm totally on board with getting all on the field, but a midfield 4 of Mertz, Griffin, All, and Sample leaves you very vulnerable at the back because none of those guys are defensive midfielders. We had the conversation about DG for so long that he's the best defensive midfielder we have, and that's not even his best position. Sample is clearly an 8 who likes to go forward a lot more than what Walty does. Mertz obviously is going to be your attacking midfielder. All is obviously going to be an attacking midfielder. And so you just, in a lot of sense, you're leaving a lot of space in that midfield area. And a lot of the guys that did well for Tampa last night were literally just sitting in that space and causing chaos in that second half, until Walty came on. But again, Walty's coming on too late. You make that sub at halftime, I'm fine with it. But you leave it until the 75th minute, and then we go ahead and give up the second goal. Now you just put a defensive person on the field when we need a goal, and it doesn't work.
And the only flaw that I can see with Jackson Walty throughout this year is that when he does get his chances in the box, he puts it over the net. So he's not that answer, right? And that is okay, he's a defensive midfielder. Do I really care if he's not scoring a lot of goals? I don't. But but I'm also not expecting him to even convert the few chances he gets. And so you're right. You need a goal. He's not the player you want on the field at that point.
Alal came on. First time we've seen him in forever. So injury must be at least to the point where he can be on the bench and playing some minutes. So that's good that we have another piece back. I know some people are not fans of Asamanu, but it is nice to have more options.
Sure.
I'm just thinking of some conversations I've had where I think he is the best option we have as a defensive substitution, and have had some conversations where people would rather see Broughton and think Broughton is a better player, and I don't know where that comes from. But
yeah. And then I guess the only other thing I really wanted to bring up during this game, just because we haven't really mentioned it, is that opportunity that Augie did have where he beat the keeper and it didn't go in because of former Hound Tommy V.
Yeah. I felt like part of me felt bad and part of me felt like, come on, man. Like Augie put it right in the middle of the net. And when Tommy V saved it, you could tell Augie was like, what? Huh? Where'd he come from? And I'm like, dude, you're like, you should know he's there. Pick a corner, do something. Don't put it right up the middle.
He didn't need to shoot right away either.
Right.
He had
the
time.
keeper.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Of course, it had to be Tommy.
It had to be Tommy.
It's because he learned how to do that at Highmark.
Should we do a top three? Justin, give me a top three.
The top three. Lately my easiest one is Perrin Barnes. I think not just this game, but I thought this game he looked good too. He's kind of just locked that side of the field down. Like there's just not that many attacks that happen on that side of the field. And it's easy to say, well, he didn't do anything impactful. But when you lock a whole side of the field down where nothing is coming that way, I feel like you're playing pretty well at that point.
Yeah. Josh, give me another one.
Yeah, I'm doing the easy one. Sorry. Fastest goal of the season, 119 seconds, I think it was. So yeah, let's go with that.
Steve?
I gotta go Robbie for the other one.
Yeah.
Robbie has consistently, I think, defined himself, and it's evident in a game like this as a constant presence in the attack and midfield. Even if he's not doing something flashy, he's getting the job done week in and week out, and it's above average for the league.
Yeah. The Hounds made him their player of the match. So I think that's fair. He got the assist on the goal, was looking dangerous all night. What's our order? Josh, I'll let you pick the order there. All Mertz, Barnes. Give us an order.
Overall performance, it was probably more so Barnes than All for scoring, than Robbie for the assist. Actually, I don't know. Maybe All is last and Robbie's in the middle because he also had a really good game the rest of the game.
So Barnes, Mertz, All. Justin, do you agree with that?
Sure.
I mean, there's not much.
I know.
Separating all these.
I know.
This feels like, how do you pick from a bad performance?
Yeah.
Right.
I know. Steve, are you gonna push against that at all? Are you fine with that?
Oh, absolutely fine with that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
I got nothing.
Biasi, another thing about the game, Biasi, he got relieved of having the caution for the yellows. So like if he was going to get one more yellow, he was going to get suspended or whatever for a game, and that got relieved. So he came into this game able to get yellows. He got no yellows. I'm very disappointed.
That's why he's not on the top three, because he didn't get his yellow.
If he would have got yellow,
we're top three.
You spend those yellows wisely, Luke. You missed an opportunity to invest.
He did have the hockey assist on the goal too.
He did.
It was Biasi to Mertz to All and the goal. It was a nice play.
Yeah,
nice play.
It was.
Just hopefully you weren't late to the game, or you would have missed it.
True. Guys, let's look at the Eastern Conference standings, and then Liz posted a question that I want to get your thoughts on as well. So after the loss, the Hounds dropped down to 7th. We are currently on 28 points. Indy, who are 9th, just outside of the playoff spot, are on 23 points. They have a game in hand on us. So in theory, we're anywhere from 5 to 2 points out of falling out of the playoffs. At the same time, the home field playoff line is now at 33 points, also 5 points away from where we are. So Justin, your point of we could go up, we could go down, I think is spot on, obviously, just looking statistically. I'm personally getting really kind of nervous because if we're going to play down to the level of the teams that we're playing against, our last 8 games, we play 5 teams that are currently outside of the playoff picture. So we're going to potentially play down if we don't assert ourselves, if we can't score. Liz posted a question in the comments saying, does a late season run this year result in anything different than it did last year. So last year we had a late season run. We kind of squeaked into the playoffs, and then that was it. Steve, do you think that we'll hold on to that spot, or do you think there's a chance that we don't hold on to that spot?
So I'm going to answer Liz's question. Does it result in anything different? And I don't think it results in anything different. I think we probably still do make the playoffs. I think we win some of these games that we need to. I think we don't play at home at this stage unless we really turn some things around. But time's getting thin on that. And so I look at this and I'm like, the only reason we're where we are is we're in the top 5 teams in terms of draws. And that's because we're keeping teams off the board more often than not and getting those 0-0 or 1-1 draws. But we're not going to do anything good if we don't find a way to score goals regularly while still keeping good defensive performances. And time's running out, and I don't see evidence that we're doing the things that we need to do. We still, all season, our highest scoring game is 2 goals, I think, still, right?
Yes.
Yeah. That may be the first. I have not looked, but that might be the first time in Bob's tenure in Pittsburgh where we haven't had more than 2 goals in at least 1 or 2 games.
Yep.
That's not good.
It's not good. Justin, the question of, does a late season run basically change or give us different results from last year? Do you think we will go on a late season run?
No, I don't. I really actually, I'm sorry, but I just don't. I don't have faith in what is happening with this team this year. And that's not to say I don't have faith in the players. I don't have faith in, Bob is an experienced coach, and I don't put that aside to say that we couldn't go on a late season run. And I would have said until we had 15 games left last year, whatever, that we weren't going to go on a late season run last year, and then we did. And it seems like we're just letting our late season run go later and later every year before we actually do it. But it's hard for me to think, you talk about, we have, our 5 out of our last 8 games, we play teams below the playoff game. Well, in our last 4 games, we played 2 teams below, 2 teams below, 1 team right on the playoff line. And we haven't, we've only won 1 of those games. You look at that table and you look at run of form, there's 6 wins on the bottom half of the table, and we only have 1 of them. So it just doesn't look good. And then I even look at results last night. Well, Indy had Louisville on the ropes for a while until Louisville did what they do and scored 3 goals. For a while that game was 1-0 Indy. And so it's all right, they can do that where we can't. I feel better about losing 3-1 to Louisville than I do 2-1 to Tampa Bay. So I don't know. I just don't see us being able to go on a run.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern is, like you said, we kind of 15 games out. We had a little bit more distance to make that run. We had a little bit more room for error. And the fact that all a team has to do is get a goal against us or 2, and that's it. You're sitting on a draw or a loss because we're not getting more goals than that. We didn't have, the Oakland game last year where we just opened it up and went bananas. So I don't know. Josh, I know I asked the question earlier, but now that we looked at the table, you still feel confident?
I do. And I also kind of like to answer Liz's question. I think it does make a little difference this time because if we make a late season run, and I mean, actually, we see this team turn around and not win out, but get a good string of wins, we're still within shot of a home playoff game. And I feel like playing at home is a big difference for the Hounds. So that is a bigger deal. Now, do I think that means we could win it all? No, I don't. And I don't have confidence in that with this team. But having to play Charleston versus having to play someone that's more like a Detroit or something like that, which I mean, obviously we've lost to Detroit in the playoffs before. But it would still be a much more competitive and a much more winnable, gettable game than having to play someone like Charleston or Louisville. So a run would make a difference. Do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. But
I think you're speaking from your heart and not from your head, because when you look at everything, Bob still only has 2 playoff wins. So the fact that we can't score, even if we get into the playoffs, I think we're hosed. But I could be wrong. I'd like to see us.
if we make a run, though, that means we are scoring. Like this is predicated on does making a late season run change anything, and
that's fair.
Implies that we have changed something because we're actually having a run instead of losing against the worst team in the league at the time.
Yeah. Steve, you seem like you were prepping something. You're just like groaning over there.
I mean, sure. we are much more likely to win at home. Of our 7 wins, 6 of those have come at home. But of our 8 losses, 6 of them have come on the road. And so, okay, like maybe we do a little bit better if we get some wins in the next few games and we win a home playoff game again. Do I have confidence that a 4th place Riverhounds team is going to go away somewhere and beat any of the teams above us? I don't, right? Like we haven't shown that we have the tactics this year to score the goals we need to do. And we've won 1 game away from home this season. Like it's not encouraging.
Let me ask you guys this. If we scrap everything that has happened to this point, and you know that the Hounds are currently in, what are we, 7th? The Hounds are currently in 7th. We have 9 games left. What defines success for you with these 9 games left? If X doesn't happen, you won't consider it to be a success down this 9-game stretch. Is it if we don't get a home playoff game, then it wasn't successful? Is it if we don't make the playoffs, it won't be successful? I mean, those are kind of your 2 options. There could be some other, if we don't score more than 3 goals or whatever. But how will you look back on these 9 games and go, you know what, we did okay? Like regardless of what happens, I think those last 9 games were successful. Steve?
I don't have a good answer.
I can go.
Like, I can tell you, like, if we crash out, then we're not successful.
Right.
If we maintain the worst we've done, which is low seed for the playoffs, like, I guess based on this season, that feels okay. Doesn't feel great. We should be doing better. So I don't know. Like we have to be in that 4th spot and do well with a multi-game playoff run for me to feel like things are good or things are okay. And I just don't. Yeah.
Josh?
For the season to be successful, for me, it's a home playoff game. Getting that 4th place spot it's either a successful season or not, based off of that. Obviously, I would want to be near the top of, the table to be a real successful season. But I think a good standard is 4th or higher is a successful season in my eyes. But that's not what I'm like. This whole last couple of years has it ever really, for me at least, been like, is it a successful season? It's do we win the championship? And so like that is a successful year is if we either win or get past game 2. At this point, I would be happy with game 3 in the playoffs and be like, all right, we we got past game 3. We're doing great.
Justin?
Yeah. I'm laughing because you're asking me to scrap context, which is never what I do. And so I don't think I can do that. But I think at this point, making the playoffs is great. Like, we've had kind of this run of form since then. I'd love to see us win a playoff game. I don't believe necessarily that we can win a playoff game, but I think I think we need to make the playoffs at this point in time. So I think to Steve's point, if we crash out, start getting a string of bad results here and we don't make the playoffs, and I also don't want to see us sneak in at 8th either, and so I think we need to maintain the 7th spot and then continue to build on that, hopefully, and catch some of these teams in front of us. And the only way we do that is winning games.
Yeah. Those are all legit answers. Guys, anything else that well, let's talk about Oakland. So we travel to Oakland. The game is going to be on Sunday at 4 p.m. Now, Oakland, prior to this game, were last place in the West. Now I think they're second to last place. I think we like to look at the standings and just sort of assume, like, well, we're in a playoff spot. They're not. We should win this. This is traveling west. We know that takes a toll on the guys. What constitutes a good result here for you? Is it 1 point? Is it 3 points? Like, where are we at, Steve?
I mean, yeah, like a point is fine on the road in the West, but like I was saying before, 4 of these last 8 games are against teams that are at the bottoms of their division. And so, much like I feel about last night's game, you got to win those games to be taken seriously. The points are not important. The statement of winning is important.
Right. I mean, we could take this one game at a time, but the issue is that if we're talking about a late season run, it's got to start with it's not going to start with Louisville. I can't imagine. So, like, it's got to start with one of these teams.
1-0 Hounds win against Louisville. Here we come.
Right, exactly. So, Josh, what constitutes a good result for you here?
This one's a lot more about the play on the field, like what the team actually looks like, if they seem to be, gelling, if they're making just good runs. I want at least a point. I think a loss is, even if they did look good and they lose, to me, that's not good enough. So at least a point, and I just want them to look like a cohesive soccer team who knows what they're doing, and that they deserve to be out there. So that to me is more of a barometer for success than necessarily the points.
Yeah. Justin?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same. I mean, Josh, to your point about, like, all right, what does a successful season look like? If that's a home playoff game, got to start getting 3 points at some point in time. And this is as good a chance as any to get 3 points. You have a full week of practice. You have a travel day. Yes, it's on the West Coast, but you also have time to adjust to the West Coast, being that it's a Sunday game and not, a Saturday night game where you're having a bit, it's like you have a little bit more time to get acclimated and all that kind of stuff and figure that out. So I think we should get 3 points in this game. It's not, to Steve's point, it's not a must win as far as we need 3 points, else we're not going to make the playoffs, all of that kind of stuff. Draw on the road's fine. But, like, if you're going to get a home playoff game, you got to start winning at some point in time.
Yeah. I agree. Guys, anything else that we want to talk about related to the Hounds before we get into our non-Hounds topic of the week?
I got none.
Okay, let's do it.
Hi, this is Ryan Reynolds. And no, this is not a Mint Mobile ad. It's the non-Hound soccer topic of the week.
Thanks, Ryan. Guys, recently Don Garber, who is the head of MLS, said he wants MLS games to be bigger than a Taylor Swift concert. Now, my question to you is going to be, will that happen in our lifetime? Steve, you said it kind of already has or will simply because of Atlanta, but let's talk averages. So the average Taylor Swift concert has 68,000 people in them. The average MLS game currently has 23,000 people in them. Do we think that soccer is going to get big enough in this country that we're going to be selling out basically, something similar to the NFL at some point in time in our lifetime? Josh, what do you think?
I think it was a poorly phrased question or answer from Don Garber trying to compare MLS to Taylor Swift. That seems like you're just setting yourself up for failure and for ridicule, because everyone's going to be like, no, obviously not. Like, are you crazy? It's soccer in general getting that popular to the point where they're filling up basically football stadiums is definitely probably possible. Like, I for me at least, I think it's likely. The World Cup is going to be a pretty big deal here, and I think that will, those games alone will draw obviously tons of people, but just people's, hunger for soccer after that will be probably pretty high. And I do think MLS and USL have the opportunity to capitalize on that. The problem, though, is you have to have good storylines going on. You have to have the narrative isn't really there for MLS, and it hasn't been, and that's always been their issue, is there's not like good conversations going on about that and like what they can I don't know, like talk about on Sports Center or whatever, like, and that's always been the issue. And I feel like until that happens, there's not a narrative there to be had, and people just don't seem to care.
Yeah. It almost feels like the rules governing MLS to try to enforce some level of parity take away a lot of the kind of side conversations that happen around other leagues that make it somewhat interesting. We have the transfer deadline ends tomorrow in Europe, and so that's all the buzz right now is who's going where, what's happening. You don't really have that in the MLS. You might get like a big name signing that comes in, but it oftentimes isn't sort of straight to a particular team because it has to go through all of the weird was it GAM and CAM or whatever the whole system is. It's just different.
Player rights and signing rights and first, right to deny and blah, blah, blah. And it seems so nebulous that it gets to the point where, someone like Messi comes in and it's a big deal. But at the same time, it's like, where does he want to go? And that's all that matters. And then the whole team pays for him to go there. The whole club. Yeah, league, I should say. And then, they bring in a bunch of other people around him, and it doesn't matter how much it costs. So it's kind of like what you're saying. There isn't really parity there, but it's done in such a way where it doesn't feel like one team gets an advantage. It's just, hey, it's whoever is lucky enough to be in a location that a aging star wants to play in.
Yeah. Justin, do you ever think that the MLS will be as popular, or also, I should just say first division soccer will ever be as popular as like the NFL in our lifetime?
No, and I don't think it actually needs to. I think the whole argument is kind of silly in the fact that I think you start to look around the world at top division soccer around the world. Nobody's averaging 65,000 seats in their, I think the average Premier League game's like 38 or 39,000 seats, and there's like 5 teams that have stadiums bigger than that. It's not. This is not like, it's like last year, Luton Town had 10,000 seats, and that's only because they added 2,000 seats to get to the minimum level to be in the first division to play there. Bournemouth has been sitting in the first division for years and has 12,000 seats. I think Brentford has 16,000 seats. It's crazy to me to think that like, MLS needs to be 65,000 on average. Because that means your top 5 or 6 teams are playing in 75, 80, 100,000 seat stadiums. And that's just not realistic because it's not even realistic for the NFL. The NFL doesn't even do that. Like the large majority of teams play in 65 to 75,000 seat stadiums. And that's the thing. So I think that one. Number 2, I think the other thing that I think about is if I were the MLS and I'm thinking about how do I make the league more successful, I would concentrate a whole lot less on numbers and concentrate a whole lot more on culture around what is happening at the games. And that's where the MLS loses time and time again. Mm-hmm. I think to me, I look at it and I go, to bring it home to Pittsburgh a little bit, for years, the discussion has been, how do we get more people to go to pit games? Well, the way you get more people to go to pit games is make it an attractive event to go to, and people will go to the pit games because people go to the Steelers games. It's not about parking. It's not about the stadium size. It's not about X, Y, and Z. You can make it about all that stuff, but it's not about any of that. But when you go to a pit game, there's no culture. It's not fun. It's not like a attractive event to go to. And so I think for MLS, it's like if there's 18,000 people in the stadium and it's fun, great. That's awesome. Keep it fun. You'll keep selling those season tickets all the time. Revenues, it'll be great. All that kind of stuff. You can add 2,000 to 3,000 seats at a time and not lose that. But if you start saying like, let's fill out this stadium, you're going to end up with a stadium like last night where Tampa, is sitting with 2,000 people in their 7,000 seat stadium, and it feels terrible. So I don't want that. I want good culture to make it an event. No matter how good or bad your team is, you want to be there and you want to be in the stadium.
Steve, I posed an alternate question to you guys off air, and that was if based on the average number of, what did I say, 23,000 is what? Yeah, 23,000 is the average for an MLS stadium at this point. If the Hounds' aspirations are clearly to be in Division 1, Are you at all concerned them building a 15,000 seat stadium might be too small for Division One?
No, I mean, I think there's objective differences in terms of where MLS is in a league that's over 30 years old and has significant financial backing. I think that USL can do Division One well, but it's going to have to do it at least at the early stages with a lot less money. And so I just don't think you're bringing in the players like are we going to see the equivalent of Messi, Suarez, and Busquets playing on the pitch at Highmark outside of an Open Cup game? Probably not, right? Like not for many years. And so I don't think you're going to have some of those things that draw some of those people into some of those bigger games. And I'm okay with that, right? I think kind of to Justin's point, talking about some of the smaller stadiums in England, that getting 12, 13, 14,000 people in a 15,000 seat stadium in Pittsburgh is going to feel really awesome. Trying to go beyond that for the occasional times where you might want to sell 18,000 tickets is not worth it to me, because if you're only filling it to a third or 2/3 capacity, that's a lot more obvious than if you're filling it to 95% capacity.
And it's also like what I would rather see, and what I think the barometer of success, kind of, just you mentioned this a little bit, was it's not so much ticket sales, because Turnstile is like, that's how a lot of lower leagues make their money, because they don't have TV rights, they don't have merchandising flying off the shelves, so like they need those ticket sales to stay afloat. And like a barometer of success shouldn't be how full your stadium is, it should be how much money you're making with all the other stuff going on, like shirts and just merch in general, and then like the league's TV deal, and like if they're an attractive product, like what I would consider success is, am I seeing Riverhounds shirts downtown at my lunch break, like just like I see Penguins and Steeler jerseys everywhere? That should be your kind of barometer for success, not so much the ticket sales.
And that's part of the culture argument, right?
Yeah.
And looking at the Pirates, they're like last in the MLB as far as attendance this year, and people are still buying Paul Skeens jerseys out the wazoo right now because he's the player, he's the guy. And so it's like, if the Hounds have a guy that people are getting around, that they love, that they want to support and all that kind of stuff, then the city will get behind them no matter how many people are sitting in the seats. And so to me, it's like, create a culture that is attractive. And I think that's what the Hounds are doing well lately. And I think that's what Jeff's talent has been, is like, let's create a culture that's fun, that's attractive, that people want to go to. I know that we've talked on this podcast about friends of ours who don't love soccer, but they enjoy going to the Riverhounds games because it's a great experience. And so continuing to make it a great experience, and the ticket sales will come behind that. But I think too often in the US, our mentality is more, bigger, better, all that kind of stuff. And we ignore that there's a whole culture piece that's behind that for a lot of teams around the world who are doing these big and better things. It's like, no, for teams in England, there's 150 years of history that's creating this culture that makes people want to come to these games, where Tottenham needs to build a whole new stadium.
Last question, and this just popped in my head as we've been talking about how important culture is. When the Hounds get to 15,000 seat stadium, will they still do autographs on the field with the players after the game is over, Josh?
I don't think you can. I mean, that's been my biggest concern about culture shifts, and not even really concerned, just we're gonna have to readjust in how things are done. You just can't logistically have 15,000 people descending into the onto the field without it being a little bit mayhem, like unless they do some more control, crowd control, make the lines actual setup lines, and the players behind not barricade, but like behind a table or something like that. Like, you could do it that way, but that takes away a lot of the fun. So I got a feeling instead what we might see is more stuff like player meet and greets and that kind of stuff, where it's like a ticketed event, or just things like that. It is sad to see that go away. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think 15,000 people is way too many to have jump onto the field after the game without it being some big, celebration or something like that, and no security can control it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Guys, any other kind of final thoughts before we get out of here on this one?
I don't think so.
As we said, the Hounds' next game, man, what is going on? The Hounds' next game is on Sunday. I think I said 4 p.m. against Oakland. So make sure. Wait, so if it's 4 p.m. for us, what time is that in Oakland? Is that a 1 p.m. kickoff? Yeah. Okay, so it's an afternoon game. Oof, that's rough. Anyway, 4 p.m.
Hey, they get back early.
This is true.
More worried about the sun. I don't know what the weather's going to be.
They're going to bake. I think that's it. I got no way to close this. Thank you guys. I always look forward to conversations with you guys, especially on these Sunday nights. Thank you everybody for watching, listening, for being part of the chat. We really appreciate it. You can always get at us. We're on Blue Sky, occasionally on Instagram. You can find us or you can email us mongols3@gmail.com. Otherwise, hopefully the guys can bring back a full 3 points from Oakland. That would be great, especially as they get ready to take on Louisville the following week at Highmark Stadium. I think that's it. Thank you, everybody. We will be back with more Hounds content for you very, very soon.
Later.
See ya.